Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. Reality. The reality of the current day. Sometimes it's hard to reconcile, sometimes it's hard to accept. You know, that is, if you're a leftist. Here's the way the leftist brain works. If the current reality of the day benefits you, or helps justify or reinforce your leftist worldview, then reality is embraced. Accept the reality, MAGA chud. But then, of course, if the opposite is true, and the reality of the day is that, well, your popularity is dwindling, your policies don't work, and people are jumping off the bandwagon like we've never seen before, if that's the reality, if the reality is the current situation is kind of hinting towards a massive Donald Trump presidential comeback, if that's the reality, well then deny it. Deny, and actually deny reality in the most condescending, arrogant, and elitist way possible. And of course, if you're looking for the most condescending, elitist, out-of-touch takes known to humanity, well then where do you go? It's pretty simple. You turn on the TV and go to ABC's The View. Tune in to the Cackling Hens to see exactly what's going on. And trust me, if you're looking for a headache, that's exactly what you're gonna get. Boy, do I have a headache this morning. The ladies at The View are putting in some serious effort this year trying to convince their viewers to vote for Joe Biden to stop Donald Trump at any and all cost. An interesting effort, as if it's going to change, as if the View viewers aren't already voting for Joe Biden. But anyways, the shilling has begun. Let me show you guys exactly what I mean by that. We got some stuff to get into, so let's roll the tape. Alright folks, so here's the headline. Whoopi Goldberg claims that voters have, quote, memory issues, slams stupid question about being better off 4 years ago. Let's take a look at this interesting take.
And I was looking back to remember, and I know we all vividly do, every picture in a mask, from work to school to not being able to see family. My parents don't live nearby. I can't fly. I mean, you couldn't go on trips, and not trips like for fun. I just mean literally to get to people you love. It was isolating, depressing. So I laughed that someone didn't catch that part when they said, we're going to go out and ask people, how were you 4 years ago? That is a time my brain is trying to completely block out.
Like, women have better reproductive health rights?
Yes,
Yeah.
there is. Listen, as Black people, we were not in this insanity of trying to figure out why our history is no longer welcome in the educational system. Women were realizing something was happening. If you were coming from another country, if you were coming to this country to find a better life, you were not welcome. Listen, it wasn't a good time for lots of people.
Yeah.
And all you have to do to ask, are we better off than we were? Ask the thousands of people who are no longer here. That's how you know if we're better off. Ask their families, are they better off without their loved ones? What a stupid question. It's a stupid question and disrespectful to the American people, in my opinion, my humble opinion.
What a stupid question. Were you really better off? Now, she was a little vague in what she was saying. She said, well, what about the people who are no longer here? Are we really doing this? You know, she was being vague, but we get exactly what she means. Essentially, what she's saying, what she's implying, is that all the people who passed away during COVID, are they better off? And of course, after that question, the real implication is, well, they all passed away because of Donald Trump. That's a popular leftist talking point. They used it a whole lot in 2020, and of course, we've heard it a couple times recently. Yep, just bring it all back to the fear-mongering, bring it back to the garbage narratives. Everybody who passed away during the COVID time, well, it's all apparently Donald Trump's fault. And based on that logic, that's how everybody should be voting. Really? I'm pretty sure if we take a look at the numbers, the US fared pretty well during COVID. Not to mention, if you take a look at the data, analyzing some of the most populous red states and comparing them to the most populous left-wing states, the death rates were pretty similar. In fact, Florida had better results with a more elderly population than California and New York State. In other words, we saw similar results, slight deviations, regardless of whether or not the policies were more left-wing or right-wing at the time, however you categorize them during that particular time in history. In other words, Whoopi Goldberg is full of it. She's lying because, well, I mean, that's what Democrats do when they're faced with reality. The reality is that people were much better off with Donald Trump. Was the Trump administration maybe spending a little bit too much? Yeah, sure, nobody's going to argue against that. A lot of that spending during the early days was Donald Trump fulfilling his promise of rebuilding the American military. Then, of course, the spending later on, Black Swan event, I don't exactly blame him for it, but spending was certainly better than it is right now, and because of that, inflation remained under 2%, right on target throughout his entire administration. immigration. The unemployment rate hit the lowest levels in history, especially for Black and Hispanic voters, or rather Black and Hispanic citizens. You know, an important distinction, especially considering Whoopi Goldberg said this.
If you are coming from another country, if you are coming to this country to find a better life, you were not welcome. Listen, it wasn't a good time for lots of people.
Donald Trump supposedly was so bad for immigrants seeking a better financial situation or life in the United States. Ooh, Donald Trump was so bad for immigration. No, I'm pretty sure immigration remained relatively similar. I know there was a slight drop because of some policies, especially relating to the ease of which work visas were being handed out. What she's referring to when she says this are illegal migrants. Donald Trump didn't openly accept all illegal migrants, therefore the country was worse off. These are great arguments for getting Donald Trump reelected. I guess the argument is hysteria. Donald Trump is responsible for anything bad that happens to literally anyone because Orange Man bad. And the second argument is, well, he wasn't good enough to illegal migrants. Okay, if that's your argument as to why life wasn't better during the 4 years of Trump, not exactly sure you're convincing anyone. If we again go back to the facts, we saw the lowest unemployment rate for minorities in the country. We saw a huge tax cut, which gave immense tax relief to the middle class and most importantly, families, the backbone of society. The stock market was hitting all-time highs. Wages were increasing more so than inflation was. In other words, Americans were getting richer, buying homes, purchasing assets, making big financial moves for their future and for their family's future. It was an era of wealth accumulation, success, and peace across the world. But apparently, it's a stupid question, according to Whoopi Goldberg. Apparently, if you think that you were better off during the Trump days than you are today, then you have memory issues. It's absolutely absurd, as if we all haven't lived through it. I mean, my channel took off in 2020. That's really where my life started to change. That's where I really started to become more financially free, building the life that I'm building today. And I'll tell you one thing, the last 4 years have been tough, even for people who are highly successful. You know, I view it from a personal perspective. I've been incredibly blessed on YouTube, and it's been a struggle. I've sensed myself get much poorer over the last 4 years. I've sensed my dream housing sort of slipping out of my grip, at least in the short term. Ad rates have gone down dramatically. The real estate market has completely halted. It's been a rough 3-4 years. It's been years of hunker down and hope to make it out at the other end alive. That's been the reality for a lot of people, like I keep saying, that are highly successful. I can't imagine how hard it's been for people who are living closer to that line. You know, maybe a little bit of sympathy, a little bit of understanding would be appreciated. No, you have memory issues and it's a stupid question. You know, get out of here. Here's a Hollywood liberal elite, probably worth tens upon tens, if not hundreds of millions of dollars, totally out of touch with how regular people feel, looking at you in such condescending manner and saying that your question is stupid, or the question itself is stupid, your answer is stupid, and that you have memory issues. What do you know, Whoopi Goldberg? What have you done? What have you had to do in the last 25 years? The answer is nothing. Whoopi Goldberg probably has staff that does literally everything for her. She's so freaking rich, she probably doesn't even have to clip her own toenails, yet here she is lecturing you on how it feels to be part of the working class. It's unreal. I mean, we are hitting unfathomable levels of condescension. Really, it seems like that's what the strategy is these days. I mean, Hillary Clinton showed up the other day on one of the late night shows. I forget this guy's name. It's probably, I don't know, Jimmy something. They're all Jimmys, aren't they? Right, Jimmy Fallon. And she said this.
Yeah. Can we talk about the upcoming presidential election?
Oh, no.
Yes, we have to. We have to. No more Easter Bunny talk, yeah. I mean, it's Biden versus Trump. We know that.
It is. It is.
What do you say to voters who are upset that those are the two choices?
Get over yourself. Those are the two choices.
Yeah, love that.
Right? And
good.
You know, it's kind of like one is old and effective and compassionate, has a heart, and really cares about people. And one is old and has been charged with 91 felonies.
Yeah, okay.
I mean...
Okay, interesting.
I don't understand why this is even a hard choice, really. I don't understand it. Yeah. But we have to go through the election, and hopefully people will realize what's at stake, because it's an existential question. What kind of country we're going to have, what kind of democracy we're going to have. And people who blow that off are not paying attention, because it's not like Trump, his enablers, his empowerers, his allies are not telling us what they want to do. I mean, they're pretty clear about what kind of country they want. Yeah. So
get out there and vote.
Get out there and vote.
Does that not seem like the most condescending tone ever? Is that not worse than the whole deplorables thing? Get over yourself, she says. I don't understand why it's such a hard choice. All right. Well, I guess this is the Democrats' strategy. Just arrogance, a dismissive attitude, and telling voters that they're dumb for feeling a certain way. An interesting strategy to say the least. I certainly don't agree with it. I've made my opinion quite clear. I guess we'll just have to follow it and see where it all goes.